computer. Excellent. You don't know me, but I know you because of your work, for sure. Um, I'm a personal trainer, and I've used extensively supplement for a lot of years now. I've been to several seminar with different supplement company and all that, and I use that for myself, like a lot of supplementation per day, a lot of
Oh,
stuff,
wow.
very well organized. And my clients also rely on different supplements to optimize different metabolic or support different metabolic function. And I have a lot of questions to you regarding law and all that. And thanks for your time first. So my first question is regarding a little bit your personal life. If you're defending supplements, Shawn, which supplement did you take today?
You mean what supplements do I personally take?
Yes.
So, okay, I'm not going to name any company names, but
Yes.
I typically take a multivite that I consider to be very good. I take some extra magnesium, and I kind of rotate the types. So I take some zinc with, but not just a straight zinc. It's got a few other things and pumpkin seed oil and things like that, with a bit of quercetin and shark cartilage right now. Now, but I shake things up, but that's kind of the
When you
regime right
say you
now.
shake things up, you mean that you're rotating your different supplement in function of
Yeah,
your feeling.
a little bit I do, and then obviously, if I think I've got a cold going around or something, bump up. I usually take a little extra vitamin C also each day, a supplement with that.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
This is it. This is it.
Yeah, right now that's what I'm taking.
Excellent. Because it would be funny that a guy who is defending the supplement don't take any supplement. So
Yeah. I
you might
also, yeah, when available, when I can get it, I'll take small amounts of lithium orotate.
lithium.
Yeah, and it was actually that doctor that wrote the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. But lithium orotate, like in very small amounts, but it's a
Yes,
trace mineral that's essential for good mental health. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
And it's not available really in
But
Canada.
no, Health Canada's banned it. So like I say, when available.
Um, there's a guy that is producing some in a liquid form in
Hmm.
Alberta, and it's legal. Do you know that?
I knew neither that he was producing it, and obviously he's not selling it for human consumption. So,
Okay, interesting fact.
oh,
Uh,
maybe he's licensed at the Health Canada. I haven't checked in a while, but they've been resistant to
but
lithium
he has his
orotate.
license. He has his license and his NPN
Oh,
on
good.
product, and he's selling. It's not orotate; it's lithium under a liquid formula.
Hmm.
Excellent. So that was my first question. I'm very happy that you're taking yourself some supplements because you are defending the world of supplements, right?
Well, that sounds like it would have a little bit of hubris, Nicholas. I think that for many people this is life and death. And I think for
Absolutely.
many people, it's also the difference between being healthy or being very sick.
Yes.
And, I, from a philosophical perspective, think that we should have the right to decide what to do with our bodies. And so, this drug model itself, which most people don't even understand, is highly problematic for us. And the fact that, our health policy is not about good health outcomes is very problematic for us. So I wouldn't phrase things the way you are, but there's, many people that are trying to do all they can to protect our rights, basically over our own bodies and to be able to make healthy choices. So,
Can you talk about your story at the beginning with L Canada very shortly because I think this story worth $1,000, $1,000,000, where there's a guy that you were working for Health Canada at some point, right?
Yeah, so this would be probably 94, a few years back.
1994.
Yeah, I'm just finishing my 30th year practicing law. This was at the very beginning. And so I was at a firm that had the federal government contract, and there was a herbalist named Jim Strauss. And I have permission from Health Canada long ago they waived solicitor-client privilege, so I'm not breaching any privilege by sharing this. But a herbalist by the name of Jim Strauss was suing Health Canada because they had seized some herbs he was importing at the border. Perfectly legal for him to import. And when I say Health Canada seized, I mean they had, Canada Customs seized. There's jurisdictional issues, but in effect it was Health Canada that had these herbs seized, and he's suing to get his herbs back. And I'm acting for Health Canada, and they're telling me, and I know nothing about this. Like Nicholas, I grew up in a home where if you got sick, you went to the medical doctor. Unfortunately, my medical doctor was a older British guy that didn't like prescribing things, so managed to escape that. But I didn't even know what a naturopathic doctor was, or what's a nutritionist. Like that wasn't in my point of notice. So Health Canada is telling me how dangerous this guy is, this Strauss guy. And the term they had for him was he was a rogue herbalist. And how dangerous it is, he's telling people he can treat heart disease, and the danger is then people won't get proper treatment. This is just snake oil, right? So, I was happy. The Kool-Aid tasted so good. Didn't know any better, and I thought I was doing good, right? Very ashamed today because I have Mr. Strauss's thing thrown out of court. He was in the wrong court. But Mr. Strauss and I got along great. He actually took me out for lunch after I had his thing thrown out of court. I ended up starting my own firm, and he gets charged by the province in British Columbia with practicing medicine without a license. And this was just another attempt to shut him down.
Yes.
Because he was claiming to cure heart disease. And
that's a pretty big claim.
Yeah, it's a pretty big claim. I'll tell you why I came to believe it's a true claim.
Oh, yeah.
So he wanted to hire me to defend him. That's why I had to get Health Canada to waive privilege. And I think they were hoping that I could talk some sense into him. So I'm defending him. Well, my job's to win, is in any ethical way that I can.
Yep.
And the law says only doctors can practice medicine. And the practice of medicine was defined so broadly as to include making treatment claims. And Jim was making treatment claims. I mean, he drove around in a white van covered in red letters, "We cure heart disease."
Oh, wow.
I mean, he could not stop talking about this.
Oh my God.
But the reason why is important. So now Jim was an older gentleman. He flew for the German Air Force in World War II. He was from Austria. And his family were traditional healers in Austria for 400 years.
Wow.
And he's trained by his grandparents in the family traditional healing business. He is an expert traditional healer. He had no interest in it. He had a PhD in electrical engineering. He's working for BC Hydro in BC. He has a heart attack. He's rushed to the hospital in ambulance. They do an angiogram. He's got one artery fully plugged, another 80% plugged. And the doctors say what they say. Jim, you got to have a double bypass if you're going to survive. Well, he didn't like that idea, so he checks himself out of the hospital. He makes his Strauss heart drops. He cures himself. He probably lived another 30, 40 years. He died of old age in an old folks home. Never had a bypass surgery.
Wow.
Now, I'm going to, of course, put Jim on the stand, but a judge is going to view that as self-serving. And I'm dead in the water on the facts, so I was attacking the law for violating our freedom of expression in our charter. Section 2B of our charter guarantees freedom of expression. But I had a narrative problem. Like, so imagine you're the judge and you accept Health Canada's position that this guy is likely killing people. It's snake oil. People that need treatment aren't getting treatment. This is life and death heart disease. Let's say you're a judge and you accept that. Even though the law says you should be protecting his right to say whatever he wants, whether he's right or not, you're not going to want to as a judge. Like, you see this narrative problem, right? You're not going to want to make a decision that you think might lead to death or harm, even if the law says you should. So I'm trying to figure, is there some way I can show that there's some truth to what Jim is saying? So I go to his shop and I say, Jim, like, he had a herb shop called Natural Way Herbs. It was like a one-man shop.
One-man show?
Like, he doesn't have any clinical evidence, I'm sure, right? I think I even said that to him. You're not going to have any clinical evidence or anything, but is there some way we can show you're telling the truth? And he hardly hesitated. He goes in the back room and he brings me out a box. And then he goes and he brings me another box. And then he brings me another box. And I forget now if it was 3 or 5. Like, this is 30 years ago, right?
Yep.
And these boxes are just filled with letters. And so, like, literally, I mean, what do I have? How many, like, we're not talking shoe boxes. We're talking good-sized boxes filled with letters. Now, so how many letters is that? Is that 4,000 letters? Is it 5,000? Is it 10? I don't remember now. But they're all the same. They're like, I had heart disease, I was sick, I was dying, I took your heart drops, I got well, God bless you. Well, I can't enter that as evidence. That's hearsay. But I can call the authors of those letters. It's the highest form of evidence we have. So I start phoning. And I got so many to pick from that I had at trial 5 middle-class professionals, because the judge is a middle-class professional. They'd all had heart disease. They'd all had at least 1 bypass surgery. One had had 2. They all continued to have heart disease because the reasons they were plugging up in the first place wasn't being addressed. They all needed another bypass surgery, according to the doctors, to survive. A couple of them were too weak to survive the surgery, so they were just sent home to die. And the others weren't willing to go through the surgery again just to buy another couple of years. So for them, the medical system was a dead end. They all come across these heart drops. They all get well. They'd all been disabled. I mean, some for like a decade or more. They're all working full-time at the date of trial. You can't fake that. And so that experience of preparing for the trial made me understand that I had it backwards. Because when I was acting for Health Canada and knew nothing about this, I thought, oh yeah, how can you imagine a rogue herbalist selling unapproved treatments? Like, Nicholas, can you imagine that? How reckless is that? Where I came to understand, no, the danger wasn't leaving that product on the market. The danger was taking that product off the market, and I could have given you the names, addresses, and phone numbers of thousands of people that were only alive because that product was on the market. So this was life and death for those people. I mean, I've had other cases, it's life and death, where courts have even agreed with me, it's life and death, and we're talking natural health products. So, well, this is like back in, I don't know when that finished, 96, 97. Natural health community is really small, people talk. So all of a sudden, whenever anyone was in trouble with Health Canada, my phone would ring. Like, if you were charged, I would get called. And like, it's not like Health Canada charges a lot of companies. You know, they try to avoid that. But when they do, I would get the phone call and I'd defend people. And it really became, and I wish it wasn't a joke, but I would joke that I came to believe that if Health Canada was attacking a product, I should write down the product name and the condition it's for in case I ever have that condition. Because it seemed that all of my files were products that worked and that products that people relied on. And I didn't understand the drug model. I didn't understand that our food and drug laws are not there for health, that they're there to protect intellectual property rights. That was a long journey. But that's how I got involved with this, is actually just having to face the reality that I had it wrong.
Amazing story. Really love that story. I want to share it by myself, but it's better that it come directly from the source. With all this, Shawn, I have a very big question for you now. What is your purpose?
My purpose is to, on a daily basis, give my life over to God and see where He leads me on that day. That's my purpose, Nicholas. He seems to be involving me in doing what I can to speak truth about drug policy. But I don't know where He'll lead me. But that's my purpose.
Amazing. um, I don't know if it's appropriate, but you look very young, Shawn. How young
I'm
are you?
I'm I am 59, but thankfully I've been taking supplements for a long time.
And you don't look like a 59 years old guy. I would say beginning 50 or ending 40 right now.
Right.
So I would say that what you're taking is working.
Yeah.
Are they joking at your workplace and call you Benjamin Button?
What's that?
Are they joking at your working space and call you Benjamin Button?
I didn't hear your last bit. Are they joking in my workplace about?
Benjamin Button is the guy that is
Oh, Benjamin
studying.
Button.
Yes,
Yeah. No. Well, actually, I mean, my workplace is now largely my home. Because I was volunteering full time for the National Citizens Inquiry for almost 2 years, I closed my law office down, the physical address, and basically I don't have a law practice anymore. I'll do some consulting for natural health product companies to help them navigate Health Canada, but the reality is now that they snuck in those changes into the budget bill last year, you can't resist Health Canada anymore. The penalties are now too high, which is why we need to, overturn that. Like the days of health freedom are evaporating, and the days where lawyers, where I've had company after company after company resist Health Canada because people would suffer or die if they listened to Health Canada. But now you will be destroyed entirely because you were facing, $5,000 fines per offense, and now you're facing $5 million a day fines for every day you're in violation. You can't withstand it. So, and penalties are supposed to be, like when the government passes a law, you never have full compliance. But so you have penalties not to get full compliance, but so that most people will comply. And they're meant to sting, like, a bee sting. They're not meant to destroy you. But we have now, and it's not just in the health field, but definitely in the health field, we've moved to where penalties are there to destroy you so that you can't even have a dialogue with government or you can't act responsibly. So we're fully, I mean, tyranny is defined as basically unchecked discretion. And the government, we're in a tyranny place right now. If you can't resist the government, if you can't have a meaningful dialogue, then we're in tyranny. And in the area of health, that's where we are now.
this is very sad to hear. And we have to change that. One
Yeah,
person
well,
at
we
a time.
do. But the thing is people really don't know yet
I know
everything
that
that's going on. Like the self-care framework that's being imposed on us right now is going to destroy the industry, which will then, torpedo, it make it very difficult for you or I to be able to afford products, let alone access them. And, we need to work harder to get the word out, and we need people to get involved. So
absolutely. And the reason why I decided to make that call is because I want to be involved by money, and I will also reunite in the Quebec, the French people. They will know the story, and they will donate to your organization so you can fight for us.
that the timing's good because we've just at the NHPPA just done a new website, and it should be fully bilingual by now. If it's not, it's almost there. And then we've also just redone the Charter of Health Freedom website, and it's also should be mostly the bilingual side also. And Quebec has, what's the population now in Quebec? Because Canada's just grown crazy. We're 40 million now. But Quebec has more political clout in Ottawa than any other province
They
because
have
you
more.
need
They,
you need
they
you
have
need
more what?
Quebec on side.
They have more. We have more what? I
Clout, more power. Like so, it's the most powerful um, province in Parliament. You can't form a government without a really good electoral base in Quebec. So, which is why the Conservatives hardly ever form a government, right? And yeah, so Quebec, I think, is going to be a key. And my experience is like, this is based on 2008, but back in 2008, when the Harper government was trying to push Bill C-51, Quebec, rallied. People just got together, groups formed, and they made a huge difference. They stopped that bill. Sorry, I got birds in the background. I didn't know we were doing a taping.
Yeah, we are around 8 millions in Quebec.
Mm-hmm.
More than 8 millions people.
Yeah, and people in Quebec value their health and understand about supplements and healthy food and all of that. So, if they can understand that they need to get involved to protect that, they will.
Count on me, man.
Mm-hmm.
You can count on me. I
So,
will.
what's your story, Nicholas?
You want me to cry or what?
Well, I don't know you, and it's you've asked me about myself. It'd be nice for me to know your story also.
Um, Grew up in a family um, where health is an absolute value. My mother is a physical education teacher, and my father is in the agroalimentaire industry. He's running a big show here in Quebec. He's like a top manager of the industry of apple juice and all that. And my mother has retired from physical education, so I decided to walk that path of physical education. But during my school, I want to know more, so I decided to pay to be with the best in the industry because I was perceiving that I want to know more about naturotherapy, about food selection, about exercise, about training, and about everything. And I was hired by a university to be a trainer, and I was very passionate about it. And it's lead to my road to try to become one of the best in my field. And it's what I try to do every day. And I want to be able to transform health of people very fast because we live in a world where everything go fast. So I have developed a lot of fast, healthy strategy to bring people that are very sick, that are very not in health, in a pretty good condition very fast. Like people who lose 100 pounds in 6 months, people that are alcoholic and they come to see me, they can lose like 35 pounds in 12 weeks of inflammation and fat accumulation. And it's simply by supporting the body very well with good nutrition and optimizing different metabolic function. So I'm always on the road to educate myself. I still have 5 seminars to go this year. 4 gonna be in Minnesota with a big company that I really love. I'm not sure if you know them, but I will not spell their name here. I will chat with you later about this company. And I will also go in Florida for another class. And my business is growing at a very fast pace because I create results. Only result matter for me. And I plan to leave a very good legacy to this world in terms of protocol to optimize health, fitness, and for general population. And I want to help others. This is my purpose.
Yeah, so it sounds like we're on a similar path. I mean, you're trying to help people to be healthy,
Absolutely.
by providing advice and products and the like. I imagine you do a lot of education, and I'm just doing it from a different angle, trying to get people involved in demanding that they continue to have this access and stopping this movement towards strictly chemical ways of treating ourselves, which.
Okay, I would call that from my side madness.
Mhm.
Mm. I have to say also that I've been bite by two tick in Quebec, in Huntington, and I have fight Lyme disease for 6 years, and I living completely symptom free because of natural health product. This is something. This is really something.
It's life and death, and that's what's so frustrating about this.
Yes,
Do you mind if I explain the drug model?
go for it.
Because it's a huge problem, and people need to understand
Absolutely.
why. Like, I don't know how old you are, Nicholas, but if
I'm
you
38.
had, and almost everyone watching this, um, if they have something serious happen, if they get cancer, if they have heart disease, if they have mental disorder, if they have arthritis, if you're rushed to the hospital or you go to your medical doctor, the only options that they can legally give you are novel chemicals that had a patent when they went through the drug approval process. And most people, they'll understand this if they think about it, but they'll have no idea how this came about, like how they were gamed into only having one type of treatment for serious health conditions, and it's the drug model. And the drug model came in to Canada in the 1930s, and it came into every Western nation in the 1930s. So there seemed to be an international coordination to impose this drug model. And do you want me to move my birds, or we'll just
Yes,
put up?
I think
Okay.
the people that's gonna listen to this are
Yeah,
gonna appreciate that.
Sorry, again, I didn't realize we're being taped. So I'm just going to turn the video off for a second and move my birds.
Don't turn the video off. Just go for
Well,
it.
I have to stand up and it's.
Okay.
So I'll just.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, guys, let's go. Let's move over. We're just a little loud. The fun part about my birds is that they're quiet until I'm doing a video. They know they're interrupting, and they quite enjoy it. They're incredibly smart. Okay, so the drug model
Yep.
comes in the 1930s in all Western nations, including Canada. So the first part, there's three parts to a drug model. The first part is you define drugs so broadly that it includes anything used for a therapeutic purpose. So anything used to treat an illness, anything used to keep you healthy is a drug. You look a little dehydrated. Can you drink some water? I just made water a drug.
Oh,
I suggested you use water to treat dehydration. In fact, if I wanted to sell water to treat dehydration, I would have to get a product license and a site license. I'd have to have good manufacturing practices and the whole thing. Because drug is defined so broadly as to include anything used for a therapeutic purpose. So that's the first trick. The second part of the drug model is you make it illegal to sell any drug unless it's been approved of by government. So they grant you approval in the form of a license. So when the drug model comes in, it is illegal to use anything to treat anybody. And then the government grants exceptions in the form of a license. Now, from a legal philosophical perspective, that's quite fantastic. So, we might have been using ginger tea to treat nausea and digestive issues for 3,000 years. And now all of a sudden in Canada, it's illegal to sell ginger tea to treat nausea or alleviate digestive problems unless the government gives you permission. So unless you get a license. But that's the state of affairs. So the blanket is everything's illegal. Anything used to treat people or an illness or to keep people healthy is illegal unless the government grants permission in the form of a license. And then the third part is for serious health conditions. And serious in this context means big money making. So cancer, heart disease, arthritis, mental illness, erectile dysfunction, that's clearly a serious one. Lots of money there. So any serious health condition, you have to go through what's called the new drug approval process. And that process is so expensive that only drugs that have patents on them go through the process. So you asked how old I am. I'm 59. In my lifetime, there's been one drug go through that process that didn't have a patent, and that was sponsored by government. Now, this is by design. This is by design. So what it means is we've created a legal structure where for serious health conditions, the only treatments that are legal are chemicals, novel chemicals. Now, Nicholas, if you and I were to, let's say we had no drug policy in Canada, and you and I were tasked with come up with a drug policy that's going to get the best health outcomes, never in a million years would you and I limit treatments to novel chemicals. It would not happen. But we have structured our drug law so that it is only legal to treat serious health conditions. And I could go on, I listed the top 5 money makers, which is just outrageous. And then Health Canada is this huge police force that then uses its power to drive any other product that competes off, out of existence, because they don't have a license, because they can't get a license because it's uneconomic. So now what's happening with natural health products is, we had this big citizen rebellion in the late 90s where Health Canada realized they couldn't impose the chemical drug regs on us, so we got these awful natural health product regulations, which we're still in the drug model. In the United States, the same products are in the food model. They're legal to sell without government approval. They're deemed by law to be safe, where ours are deemed by law to be dangerous. So we lost and we got in this drug model, but it was a softer model. It didn't cost several $100 million to get through the process. Our prices, tripled and quadrupled, which is why, the same product in the US is a fraction of the price because they don't have this regulatory burden. But we're still surviving. But what they're doing now is they're transitioning us to what's called the self-care framework, where they're basically lowering the bar. So they're going to make it so that the natural health products have to comply with the same regulations and fees and conditions as the chemical drugs, and we're gone. And we also can't get licenses anymore for anything but the most minor of conditions. So they're doing a final takedown of the industry, but it's all to protect intellectual property rights. Because the problem is too many people. When I say problem, I mean the problem for the government is that too many people are effectively using natural health products to manage health conditions, and ever more serious ones.
And that's why they want to do that.
Yeah, in my opinion, it could be as simple as money and market share.
Absolutely.
So
it's a monopolistic, to my eyes, to my point of view, it's monopolistic domination.
Yeah, and the problem is people haven't understood that the whole law is flawed. The whole model is flawed. It has nothing to do with health. In fact, if you read the Food and Drug Act and every regulation passed under it, there's nowhere in there is Health Canada have any duty to get good health outcomes or to even protect our health, because it's not about health. It has nothing to do with health.
I have a big question for you then. Who is running the show?
Oh, well, I wish I had that answer. So, I don't know. All I know is that our drug policies privilege, products that have patents, and that's big pharma. Do I believe that Big Pharma has an influence on Health Canada? Absolutely. I mean, anyone can just read Dr. Shiv Chopra's book, Corrupt to the Core. If you don't know who Shiv Chopra is, he's deceased now, but he was a Health Canada drug approval scientist.
Oh my God!
I think
I
for
want to read
almost
that.
30 years. For a while, he ran the veterinary drug approval wing of Health Canada, but he was mainly involved in the human end. And he forced the Senate to call him and several other drug approval scientists at Health Canada to testify. Like, he became a whistleblower.
Oh.
And I remember, and it's in the book Corrupt to a Core, Dr. Margaret Hayden, who is a drug approval scientist, she had given an interview to, I think it was CBC, after her testimony. And if I recall it correctly, I mean, it's been a few years since I've read the book, but I think I have it right. She said something to the effect that, well, after you've been a drug approval scientist at Health Canada for a while, you come to learn how they're going to get around your decision not to recommend a drug. Okay, so here we've got drug approval scientists that are there to protect Canadians, and someone like Dr. Hayden will conclude, no, we should not approve this drug. And then how Health Canada gets around its own experts is management, and the book makes it clear, management, they're never medical doctors, they're never experts themselves. Management will appoint a panel of outside experts who will then review the drug and recommend that it gets approved, and then approve it. So management can't be liable because they've relied on this panel of outside experts. Because it's a panel, you don't know who voted yes or no, and so nobody's liable there. And it's brilliant. I mean, optically, it's brilliant. So that's how Health Canada even gets around its own experts who don't want a drug approved because it's not in the public interest to allow Canadians to take it. I mean, Nicholas, do you know that just this year in the budget bill, so it was Bill C-69, the federal government snuck in changes in the federal budget. They snuck in changes to the Food and Drug Act that allow the Minister of Health to allow drugs onto the Canadian market that are being marketed fraudulently, to allow drugs onto the Canadian market that are adulterated. And adulteration in the Food and Drug Act world means with a dangerous substance. We're not talking, company couldn't get safe filler A and so use safe filler B. No, we're talking drugs with dangerous substances in it that shouldn't be there. And the Minister of Health now has power to permit onto the market drugs that are manufactured under unsafe manufacturing practices. And the Minister of Health now has power to exempt drugs from almost any of our safety regulations. Now, if someone can explain to me under what scenario is it in a Canadian's interest for drugs to be marketed to them fraudulently, that are adulterated with dangerous substances, or that were manufactured in unsafe and unsanitary conditions? But anyone can go to Bill C-69, just go to the House of Commons site, Bill C-69, it's our budget bill, it's section 31 of that bill. It's there in black and white. Like, the world's upside down. If you don't believe, me when I say our health law isn't for good health outcomes, it's a brave new world in the full sense of the words.
Are you trying to explode my brain? Are you trying to explode my head with that kind of sentence? Because it does.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it? So, but, if we believe that, we still have some power as a people to influence our politicians, then, we have to get involved. And I think we have to get involved even if we don't believe that, because we need to find out, is Parliament going to be responsive to us or not? And this is the issue that we're going to find out on.
What is the movie with Mel Gibson where Braveheart?
Yes, it was Braveheart.
We will have to be in Braveheart mode, from what I see.
And remember the lesson in Braveheart, that it was the nobles that were supposed to be on his side that betrayed him time and time again. And so, the takeaway there is it's the leaders that we believe we should be able to trust in that are going to be betraying us. So we really have to keep our eyes open. Absolutely. And make sure that we're not vulnerable. We have to take responsibility for ourselves, for our own health, And we can't think that freedom leaders are going to take care of this or our politicians are going to take care of this. We have to each take personal responsibility to be involved.
Absolutely. I think that we can stop the record. It's been, I think, probably 40 minutes of recording. I will stop it and just talk a little bit with you a little
Sure.
bit more.
Yeah.
Okay? Thanks a lot for your time, Shawn.
Well, it's been an enjoyable conversation. Thank you, Nicholas.